despite what some people claim, joins are easy. The join command takes 4 primary arguments, although you can omit the last one if you're piping records to standard in. The first 2 arguments are the names of the keys we should match records from each data set on. In this case, we're using month names. The next is the left-hand side of the join, and we're producing a record stream from a CSV using Bash's nice subshell redirection syntax. We do that again for the temperature data. And then if we look at the results, we now have each month's high and low merged into our sky records. The join command sensibly defaults to an inner join, but it also supports left, right, and full outer joins. So by now you've seen a handful of commands that Rex has to offer. But one of the best features of Rex is its flexibility. It provides a sensible, convenient core, but lots of ways to extend it as long as you follow a minimal set of conventions. So for example, if you can't find the command you want, it's really easy to extend it with your own commands. At the simplest, you just write a program where you fill in this ellipsis, and that's all. You decode a line of JSON, you do some stuff, you encode it, and repeat. And maybe it's easy to do what you want in Python. This is certainly true for some of the custom commands I wrote for bioinformatics work, where libraries like BioPython really rule the day. Rex is written in Perl, but there's no reason that your commands have to be. There's even a subset of the standard collate command called Rex fast collate, which is written in C for speed that you can drop into most pipelines if you're getting bogged down. So one of the important goals for Rex is that it relies only on this minimal set of conventions, this record stream. And it lets you really use whatever data formats and languages make the most sense for you on the other side of that. The Unix philosophy of kind of interoperation between small programs is really firmly embraced by Rex. But maybe you kind of want to tap into the infrastructure support that core Rex commands get. And they're actually classes that you could use as a normal Perl class if you really wanted to. So in this case, you could write your own operation subclass that defines these kind of few required methods. And the command dispatcher will automatically pick these up if it's in your inc somewhere, your @inc. So just look at the output of rex -- list to see if it's found. In this example, an operation named mogrify accepts records and outputs records. You can also define an accept line method if you want to handle textual input lines, or use the push line method if you want to accept records but output text lines. And so these are what the input-output edge commands do, the from commands and the to commands. So hopefully by this point, you're excited to try out Rex and give it a spin. And lucky for you, Rex is pretty darn easy to start using anywhere you find yourself needing it. While you have the option of a full CPAN-based install and choosing to install dependencies for optional features, the core of Rex is pure Perl and provided as a single standalone script. In my experience, this portability is key for making Rex a part of my daily life. Since it's easy to download and run no matter the Perl version, I don't really have to worry about copying data around from remote servers just so I can use it. The documentation for Rex is pretty good, at least for the commands. One of the things worth noting is that the help option by default is an abbreviated form, and there's a help all option and other subcategories that you'll want to investigate to find more details. These details for some of the trickier bits of Rex, like the tiny DSLs that are part of the toolset, the documentation for those is behind a lot of those options. So if you still have problems, Ben Bernard, who's one of the original authors of Rex, and myself have both helped a few folks out via questions raised on GitHub issues or rt.cpan.org. So feel free to give that a shot if you're really stuck. And finally, there's at least 2 folks I know of, myself included, using Rex on the Spug channel on irc.perl.org. It's a pretty quiet channel, but I idle there nonetheless. So thanks so much for attending. I hope that you're as excited as I am about Rex. It's certainly changed the way that I work with data day to day. And if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Yes.
Do you always use it interactively, or do you operate on a subset of data and then let it run overnight, or how do you do that?
I often use it. I often use it interactively to when kind of developing a pipeline, and often on a subset of data if it's a particularly large set of data. And then I'll kind of wrap it up in a shell script or a makefile or even Perl. And sometimes I've used the operation classes directly rather than piping them through the shell. And yeah, it just let it run kind of wherever. Was there another?
As well as running it as a command line, have correct get this and get Perl programs and get the line at the time or record at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are not, but there are functions to help you load and instantiate operations and chain them together. Yeah, so you name the tail end of the class, yeah. And that's one of the things that I'd like to start doing more, because as your pipelines grow, it becomes more unwieldy to deal with shell scripts, basically. So it would be really nice and a nice project to kind of make those functions to help you, kind of a little domain language, but written in pure Perl to help you chain these things together.
Well, the other thing I wondered, and I think you answered it with your demonstration, your example, but I was wondering, can you combine like an assert with another operation at the same time? But it looks like you typed it for another application, whereas if you program the API, I'm assuming you could kind of, well, I was hoping to chain those together so you wouldn't have to complete that again.
Yeah, so they're all in there's actually a chain command as well, which will let you chain commands together in the same Perl process. And a lot of that infrastructure could be used in Perl land rather than shell land to do that chaining without going through the serialization and deserialization to JSON every time. Yeah. And when you chain commands together or operations together directly in Perl, the operation just invokes the method on the next operation in the chain, basically. Yeah, yeah. There's another question?
I noticed that you were kind of mimicking SQL commands with a lot of your stuff. Have you considered an SQL parser that would actually, you just give it a string and it would build a little program internally that would do those things?
That's not something I've considered. That's not something I've considered, but it could be kind of neat, potentially. Yeah. All right, well, I'm getting the game over sign, so thank you for your attendance and your questions, and catch me online if you have any questions, or catch me in the halls. Thanks.